Well, here we are. It is Friday, December 20. What's the day? I don't even know what the day is. I've been away for a week. We were up in New Hampshire. It's the 25th. As many of you know, we were up in North Conway at the place up there. We're getting a bunch of work done to it because we haven't been up there for months. And it was nice to get away. It was great to get away up into the mountains, and we had some great times. We did a video over on the Patreon section this week how we went up and had dinner for our 90th birthday of a very good friend of ours. My wife's godfather is widow. He passed away a number of years ago, but we all got together up there, and they flew Grandma up from Virginia up to the White Mountains, and they all stayed at Bretton Woods. They had a great time. There were about 20 or so family members were able to get over here from England and Italy and one thing and another, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and that's what summer's for, I guess. So anyway, we got some things done. We're very relaxed up there. Incidentally, Buck got in a little trouble up there. He went out and because we're way out in the woods. A lot of woods around us, brooks and streams, but there is a house on a street or so back from us that has ducks. And he is half Schnauzer and half Shepherd, and he's got a pretty strong prey drive. And apparently, he went over there and he made a play for one of the ducks. He didn't hurt anything; nothing got happened. But he came running home in a hurry. About 3 minutes later, there's the dog officer up there, Elizabeth. She's very nice. She came over and said, the lady's not very happy. So we made some apologies, and we're getting a halo dog collar for him, so we can sort of keep him on our acreage up there, not straying off into the neighbors. It seemed like the right thing to do. But anyway, it was pretty funny. Everybody knows him up there now. He's been up there enough, so it was sort of amusing. At any rate, what else is going on? This week on the newsletter page, we found a very interesting story about the reverse paintings on glass that were done in China of the famous Gilbert Stuart picture of George Washington. And there's a story about that. There are images of it and so forth. So check that out. And there's something else we put in there, and I can't remember what it was because I set it up a few days ago, set it aside to go in there. But check out the newsletter page this week, and there'll be some things on there that are on Live Auctioneers. The Live Auctioneers and Invaluable and all these sites are still very quiet, as we've talked about, and it's going to remain that way for the next few weeks. But there are a few sales that took place. We talked about the wonderful sale, the Martha Hamilton sale that took place down in Cape Cod yesterday. There wasn't too much China trade in it, but there was some good, very, very rare pieces of American furniture. And the Sing sale took place at Eldred's this week, and we'll get to that. I ended up being the underbidder on a lot that I really wanted, and it had been offered at Sotheby's and didn't sell. And at any rate, I left a bid, and I didn't get it. But we move on. There's some other China trade portraits sold. And what else is going on? Well, that's sort of about it, I guess. See you all next time. No, kidding. There are some auctions coming up, and we're going to start with this. In case you missed it, you're not paying attention, Doyle has a sale coming up. And I think I might have mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but it's happening before the next week's video, so I want to remind everybody in case you didn't catch it. And one of the lots that's in this, and I've had a couple of inquiries about it, get a hold of Doyle's in New York and ask them about this vase. This jar. This looks like a pretty good pot. I'm not crazy about the mounts. I think they're sort of cheap looking, but you could always disassemble those. But the porcelain on this pot looks pretty good. Apparently, it's attached to the stand, and they can't really get a look at it. But this looks like an 18th century, possibly Kangxi period pot. And I would look into this. It's got a few bidders watching it, so I think a few people suspect it. Might be. It's 14 inches tall, including the stand, so it's probably about 11 and a half inch tall jar. But it's a very attractive jar, sort of freely drawn, nice looking colors, nice translucent levels, yellows, good aubergine on it. I don't know. You need to get a hold of them and find out if this is an old one or a really, really good, later copy or a French example. But they're saying it's Chinese. And it doesn't look a republic to me. It looks 18th century. So I would look into that. All right, that's that. It's got a $500 to $700 estimate. If it is kung chi, it's a $1,500 to $2,500 pot. So I think it's worth checking out if any of you are kung chi buyers. I know a number of you are. And the other thing that's in the sale is this same sale. This is on the 30th of July. You get about a week. Is this very nice big kung chi charger, molded relief work and so forth. These two interesting bowls. I covered some of this on the Patreon videos. We did several videos over this week on it this week, but that's a nice looking lot. $750 starting price, $1,500 to $2,000 estimate. Sounds about right. And there's some other things in there. You want to go look at it. One of the other things I wanted to remind everybody of, because I always harp on books, I realize, and the price of books right now are as inexpensive as they've been in years. And I know I always go on about it, but for heaven's sakes, buy good books. Buy good books. And right now is a great time to buy them. And this is the Sunburst sale that's coming up on August 1st. And all it is old auction catalogs and old art reference books. There's even a copy in there of Macintosh's blue and white book. If you haven't gotten that, it's a very good book. It's very well written. The images are mostly in black and whites, so it doesn't generally sell for all that much. But the content, the reading content in it is really good. It's a very, very, very good book. And this is another one. This is written by Craig Clunas on Chinese furniture. And this is one of those Victoria and Albert Museum Far Eastern series books. This is a good book. If you want to know more than 90% of the people out there on Chinese furniture that try to buy the stuff, this is a book worth getting. It's a very good book. It's very easy to read. It's not enormous. It's several hundred pages, but it's not a monster volume. It doesn't get you into all the weeds and all the little minor details and stuff that don't really affect most furniture collectors unless they're getting into the heavy duty, very high end Ming stuff. But it's a very good, very very good general introductory reference books on Chinese furniture. It's really good. It's estimated just $30 to $50. Oh, I think Mom's home. And it's got a couple of bids, $10. It should sell for the high estimate, I would think, but we'll see. We'll see. Excuse my dog. He is up. Mom's out at the store. And also in the sale is this. Now these are two books by Sydney Moss, the famous dealer over in the UK. These were published in 1983. Scholar's taste and beautiful scenery of the peach blossom spring. These are nice books. They're beautiful images in them, beautiful paintings. You get a very good sense of paintings and the scholarly pursuits around collecting paintings. If you like Chinese paintings, these are a good set of books. Again, $30 to $50, $5 starting price. The book estimates are so reasonable. And remember, you always get them shipped book rate to you, so they cost nothing, next to nothing to ship. $10 or $10 handling charge, get it out. All right. Oops. All right. That was nothing. That was a sales call. These are very, very good books. And then over to this. Now, this is, if you like Chinese transitional wares, this was published by the China Institute of America in America, and it was written by Stephen Little. And Stephen Little is one of the great geniuses on Chinese ceramics of the world. Right now, I believe he's orchestrating a show at the San Francisco Asian Art Museum, or they're putting together one out there on Qing wares. I heard something about it about a year ago, but he's written other books. He's a very good writer. This book came out a number of years ago, but it's one of the early books. He was also a very good friend of Mr. Butler over in England, the big Chinese transitional collector, and they got together on a lot of things. 1620 to 1683. If you don't have that book, by all means get it. It's a softbound. It's a very nice read. It's well written. It was published in 1984. It was one of the first books on transitional wares that was really published and given any attention. It was 41 years ago. Hard to believe. I bought it when it was new. Oh, that's embarrassing. And this is another book by Sydney Moss, Heaven and Earth. Another great book on the secular life, divine, the scholar's objects, and all that stuff. Again, excellent read, beautiful objects, very informative. Buy books, fill your library with specialty books in your area of interest. I'm going to say that until the day I die. You just absolutely have to. You cannot rely on the internet for descriptions. You can't rely on the internet. Certainly not Live Auctioneers, Invaluable, Bid Square, any of them for any real accurate information. And increasingly, the major auction houses seem to be shying away from doing much in the way of scholarly work and giving great explanations. Sotheby's still is to a larger degree than I think than Christie's. But they at least are still putting some decent essays here and there. But that's just skimming the surface. So get the books, really dive into it. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good books. Incidentally, if you use Kindle, there's a lot of good books about Chinese culture, history, and art, and objects that you can buy for nothing. $10. Load it onto your Kindle and take it on vacation. I've got 4 or 5 on there at any given time, and I don't get through them as quickly as I wish, but they're there, and they're always fun to read, and it's right there. Just take it with you. All right, now over to this. This is the other one. This is Rose Kerr's book. This is also from the Victoria and Albert Museum. Again, I've talked about this book before. She wrote this years ago. It's a really good book on Chinese ceramics. It's probably, I think, the best primer of Qing Dynasty ceramics you can buy. And if you really read this book and know the content, you'll be ahead of about 90% of the people out there that are looking for things. $30 to $50 estimate, $10. All right, now I think that's about it for the books. Go over there, Sunburst Auctions, August 1st. By all means, go there, buy a bunch of books. The more you buy, the cheaper the shipping gets because they all go in one box, and all these books are, easy to ship. So keep that in mind. All right, now over to this. This is coming up. This is at Antiques Arena down in Brooklyn, New York. And I don't pay much attention to a lot of those. There's some rather odd auction houses in New York that just seem to have endless auctions that never sell anything. I don't know what's going on down there, but they're sort of auction mills. There's is it Jasper or one of them? They've got like 40 auctions at a time running for all kinds of junky jewelry and knockoff Hermes bags. And well, maybe they're not all knockoffs. I don't know, but they look like they are. Anyway, this. But this is coming up down there. This is a nice box. This is a 19th century Anglo-Indian trade box. And these were brought back by a lot of British people brought them back from India, and a lot of Americans that were over there during the late 19th century brought boxes like this back. This is a nice one, and it's got its original grunge surface. This is what I like about it. The inside of it is nice and clean. That's the way you want it. But the outside of it, it's got some weathering to it. But the carving quality is quite excellent on this. This is a very, very beautiful box. And with a little patience and a soft brush and a little lemon oil, Howard's oil, or your favorite turpentine, boiled linseed oil and vinegar combination mixed in equal parts, rubbed in here, detailed, this thing would come to life. This is a beautiful box. And it probably won't sell for a lot of money, I don't think. It's only estimated at $100 to $150. It measures about 10 inches long, 9 inches long, 6 inches deep, and 3 inches tall. So it's not a huge box, but it's a beautiful box. If you've got boxes where you keep things on your bureau or around your house, buy a beautiful box, all right? There's a lot of beautiful boxes out there. There's great old tea caddies out there that were made in China and made elsewhere, and they're great to keep things in. This is a very, very nice one. That's a dandy box. You might be able to pick that up for under $100. All right. To me, it looks like it should bring in a retail store, just so you know, a box like this in a nice retail shop in New York or a good antique area and so forth. This box would be about $700 to $900. That's what they would sell this for. These are not cheap boxes, but at auction, they don't seem to bring much. And I've never understood why. It's magnificently well carved. All right. In New York City, Manhattan on the Upper East, they charge probably $1,500 for that pretty quickly. All right, and then this is coming up at Kings Road in Naples, Florida. I'm not that familiar with them, but they've got a few China trade pieces. One of them is this Kangxi period tea caddy. It's a nice one. And these tea caddies have been very inexpensive over the last few years. I've seen them sell for just $100 or $200. They used to sell for $600 or $700. Back when China trade wares were more popular. But now that China trade stuff is coming back, it may be that you'll see these things suddenly bringing more money as well. You never know. But this is a nice looking tea caddy. It's got a $300 to $500 estimate. It's got a couple of bids on it. I'm going to bet it goes for between 2.25 and 3.25, somewhere in there, and that's a perfectly reasonable price. It's a nice looking tea caddy. And then this teapot's in there with the side handle. It's a side handle. It's technically a chocolate pot, I guess. Not really a teapot. It's too big, and they didn't drink coffee, so they call them chocolate pots. There it is. It was John Davis, the dealer in Connecticut, sold it originally. It's a nice 18th century one. It's beautifully painted, nice soft colors, $200 to $400 estimate, and it measures four almost 5 inches tall. All right, but that's technically, the design is technically that of a chocolate pot, I believe. All right, and then over to this. This is also, I think, in Kings Road. These are neat. I like these. They dated them as Shaijing. I don't think they are. I think they're a little bit later, judging by the artwork on them. But they're awfully nice, and they're beautifully shaped. These sort of rounded bodies with these figures in them in a little landscape scene. And it's a pair. They're rather charming, and they look to be in good shape. I like the spout. The spout and the handles are all very sort of serpentine looking. And it does have the crosshatch upper border that you see on late 18th century pieces. And I think that's probably why they dated them as Shaijing. I think they might be a little later than that, based on the bottoms and how they look and how the enamels are done. But they're awful nice just the same. They're pretty. They're pretty. The way this figure is done here makes me think it's probably more 1850, but it doesn't make any difference, really, as far as the value. It isn't going to have a big impact. They're estimated at just $200 to $400 for the pair. They measure 5.25 inches tall. Rather nice looking China trade pieces. And it's a pair. Pairs are hard to come by sometimes. All right. And then we talked about the books. And as a reminder, this is the sale that's coming up at New Orleans Auction Gallery. We've talked about it a couple times. They've got that very interesting pair of hot food pots that have the Guangzhou marks on the bottom, but I looked at them and I do believe they're probably Republic period, but they're awfully nice and the estimate's reasonable. They're estimated at $800 to $1,200, and I think they're already beyond that. They'll do well because they're very nice. They have the Three Friends of Winter pattern on them, which is rather interesting. And then there's this stipple ground Chinese export jar from the 1780s. It's coming up. That's a nice looking thing. And it is estimated at $600 to $900. It may not get there. There was a blue one of the other day, a very similar example. It was sort of the beaker that would have gone with this. And I think it went for just $300. It was in another sale somewhere else. And maybe these are getting a little soft in price. But notice something on here. This is something, again, the shipping. The shipping, this is the Live Auctioneers have started this shipping thing. It drives me crazy, and don't let it bother you. But down here, this is the New Orleans Gallery, and Live Auctioneers has plugged their shipping in. Look at the shipping rate they're giving to ship this thing from New Orleans to Boston. $172 for an 11-inch pot. That is insane. I'm just going to say it. That's flat out insane. If you buy something from these companies, tell them do not include the when you buy it, they do give you the option on checkout to not pay the shipping, and you can then arrange your own shipping. From New Orleans to here, I could call a local UPS store down in New Orleans, and I'm going to guarantee you that this auction house is sick of hearing about it from unhappy people. New Orleans Auctions, they've been there for a long time. I think they're on Canal Street, I believe. I was in there many years ago. Anyway, UPS Ground will bring this up to you for probably under $60. Maybe even less. I got a package the other day that came about that distance, and I think it was $49. It was, or $39. It was very inexpensive. So don't let the nutty Live Auctioneers shipping rates throw you off from bidding. You don't have to pay that. That's what it is. Overnight, fully insured, express mail, all the bells and whistles. And the fact of the matter is that UPS Ground will get a package anywhere in the United States within 3 days. All right. And, for me, I'd rather pay, $39 and wait one extra day than pay $175. It's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. All right. Now, what else is going on here? This is an interesting rug. This rug has been in the market before. I saw it when it was in the house. This is now at Material Culture. It was sold by Devin Moisen up in New Hampshire. who handled this collection. She was the wife of a very famous Chinese scholar. I won't go into who it was because I really shouldn't, because I was involved on the front end of this when it was first sold. And this was sold up at Devon Moisans a few months ago. And it's a very interesting rug. It was in this house down outside of Boston, Newton, Mass. And it's a Mongolian rug, and it's quite large. It's 7 by 4 feet, and it's obviously a directional landscape scene with deer on it. It's a very meaty rug. This is a wonderful carpet. It's quite thick. It was sort of rolled up in a ball in the corner of the dining room by the time I saw it. They had a busted water pipe over the winter in this house, and the stuff was fine. The furniture and everything was fine because it leaked into another part of the house entirely. But basically, the house had to be gutted afterwards. And she was moving anyway, the lady that lived there. But all the good stuff was tucked off in the corner. And this rug was there. I remember seeing this. I thought, boy, that's a neat rug. And it's a Mongolian carpet. It's fairly thick. It's 7 by 4 feet. I think it sold a few months ago for about $300 or $350 or something. So we'll see what it brings this time. It's a good carpet, and it's a very interesting rug, and you can hang it on the wall like a tapestry. Matter of fact, the woman told me they did have it hung at one point in a big family room they had. It looked amazing. All right, and then over to this, and that sale is on the 29th, so it's in a few days. Material Culture. They got some other good rugs and textiles in there, and some Chinese carpets and things. You might want to go look at it. Chinese rugs and textiles and Central Asian stuff, as you know, we're very fond of around here. The beautiful things that they go well with Chinese objects, so they make a lot of small Chinese rugs, mats, and Central Asian things. Make terrific table covers to put objects on because the colors are very pleasing. Some of you know that when I do the videos, there's one end of the room here. I often shoot videos, and we have an 18th or early 19th century English cabinet maker's chest, and I have a very early Ararity choual over it, and we find it's the perfect background to take pictures with. In a lot of this extra videos we do, and these are terrific because they used to in Europe, of course, back in the 17th century, they would put carpets, Ushak carpets, and trans-Caucasian rugs and all these different rugs on tabletops in Europe rather than walk on them because they'd be destroyed so quickly because of the environment. And they used to use them as table coverings, and you'll see them in early Dutch paintings all the time with Wanli bowls on them and things like that. You can do that too. It's perfectly fine, and they look great. It's a great way to decorate. All right, and then over to this. This is coming up at Ararity down in Lorton, right? Lorton, Virginia. It's a very nice home shrine, Japanese shrine. Measures around 10 inches. It's not terribly big, but I think it's rather charming and well done. It may have had some touch up to the gilding up on the mandala on the back, but the rest of it is fine. I like this. I love the base. It's like a giant floating cloud with the two acolytes and Buddha in the middle. This is a nice looking object. Look good in almost any place you could put it. Look wonderful on a bookcase. The estimate is I think the estimate's a little bit aggressive, $800 to $1,200. I think it should bring probably 3 to 5 or maybe 5 to 6. I don't see it bringing 8 to 12. You never know. It could. They have in the past, but I don't see that happening with this one. I don't know why. I just don't think it will. We'll see. We'll come back next week and revisit it. Maybe it'll bring twice what I think. Who knows? And then let's see. This is the Amelia Jeffers auction that's taking place right now. And this is sort of interesting. I did a video on this auctioneer. Some of her things over on the Patreon thing this week because the furniture aspect of it. There were some Chinese things, and one of our viewers over there commented. He said that this. How many of you? I don't know how many of you have been around for a while. Remember Garth's auctions out in this part of the country? Well, Garth's retired. They closed it down. Amelia Jeffers took over their business side, I guess, and she's sort of the Garth's 2.0. Because I was looking at the stuff and I said, boy, they get some really, really nice things. And they had some nice things in this sale. And there's a couple of things I want to talk to. These things have sold since I started this video. I sort of queued it up hoping that they would get there by the time I was there. And I'm going to go through a couple of the lots because I thought they were quite good. One of them is this jar. Now, this is a cracked ice jar. And it's not Kangxi, and they accurately dated it. This is what caught my eye: 18th or 19th century, but done in the Kangxi style. But this was a big jar. It was 17 inches tall. The lid is later, obviously, but this is a nice looking pot, with the plum blossoms or apple blossoms all over it, and the way they did the cracked ice pattern, I thought was pretty interesting, and it was very dirty. If you look down here, that's all dirt. All this gray area in here is just plain old fashioned dirt, and it would clean up nicely. But the bubbles and the way it looks, this is very typical of sort of those early 19th century of Zhaijing jars. And when you flip the thing over, this is the bottom of it. Very similar to a Kangxi foot, but shaped slightly differently. That's really the difference. But that's perfectly legitimate, and it did very, very well. It ended up bringing it did fine. It brought $1,150 plus premium, or around $1,500 for that jar. But this was a nice one, and it had a beautiful shape. The shape to this I thought was quite excellent, and brought around $1,500. And then there were these. These are outstanding little jars. They're about 13 inches with their stands. And I was looking at these, I thought those are just great. And they're a boys pattern, probably Republic from what I'm seeing. They called them late 19th century. They could be, but I think more likely probably Republic. But the quality of the work on these was really good. The detail. Look at the crispness of the detail of that work. That is not new work. That's nice, very high-end. It looks to me like high-end early Republic work. Very finely done with these kids all over them. The faces are beautifully shaded and toned. All the details in their clothing, even on the boy here in the salmon-colored robe, there's little tiny details of gilt. The facial expressions, the potting is good. They're at the bottom. They're losange-shaped jars, and there are all these kids doing different activities outside, playing musical instruments, drums, hoop games, and all kinds of things, children's activities. And many of them are the same activities that you see on 100 boy boxes from the Zhaijing and Wan Li period. It's that old pattern, and they seem to have brought it back. But these were very nice, very, very nice, and they did fine. They had a very modest estimate of $400 to $800. They sold for $4,200 plus the premium, or around $5,500 for the pair. Not a surprise at all. I think those were really, really, really great. All right, and the other thing that was in the sale that caught my eye was this. And this was sold by George and Mildred Samaha. Now, I've mentioned in the past Bill Samaha. This was his father. His father started an antique business out in the the business was always called, I guess it was always called GW Samaha or GM Samaha, and the son Bill took it over, who became one of the most influential antique dealers in the world, in the top. As I've mentioned in other videos, every year when Arts Magazine used to publish their list of the 50 most prominent art dealers in the world, including, Impressionist paintings and modern art and Chinese art and Japanese art and Russian art and African art and everything else, Bill Samaha was always in that 50 of the most influential dealers on the planet. And he's still alive. He's retired out in Ohio. He's a wonderful man. And this was apparently sold by his father. And they had this listed as American School Miniature Portrait of a Gentleman. And I looked at this, and I don't think it was American. I think it was done on ivory. I think this, which they did ivories in America too, obviously. But I think this was a China trade portrait. I don't think this was an American school. The details aren't right. They're wearing the very traditional sort of, seaman's executive officer on a ship costume. You do see similar uniforms in America as well as China, but the details, especially the hair and how it was done, and the way it was washed over and so forth, in this frame with all of this, and I don't think that's an English frame. I think this is this to me looks like a Chinese frame, especially when you look at the back. I had asked them if they knew what kind of wood it was, and they couldn't identify it. And I suspect this was a China trade painting, and it brought a China trade painting price. Sold for $1,500 with the buyer's premium against a $250 to $350 estimate. So that was, I think, a pretty great buy. And then there were these. I was outbid on these. I was the underdog, so to speak. These are amazingly great. And these were sold originally, not surprisingly. These had belonged in the Singh collection. Martin Gregory had handled these years ago in London. And this was an absolutely great set of pictures. And the Singh collection was sold at Sotheby's a number of years ago. We used to see him around here. He and his wife, they lived in the Boston area, I believe. We used to see them at Northeast auctions all the time. And they bought China trade and they bought other things. They bought American furniture. They bought all kinds of decorative art. They had a great eye. They were very, very eclectic people. And they bought some great China trade stuff and they had plenty of money to do it. And these had been at the Sotheby's sale with an $8,000 to $12,000 estimate, which I think was just a little too far out over their skis a number of years ago. And they didn't sell. They came back this time, apparently unreserved, and they ended up doing just fine. In the end, they ended up selling for about $3,500, $3,600 with the premium. But these miniatures done like this from about the first quarter of the 19th century are very rare, and the frames and the moldings around them are just excellent all the way through. All right, and another painting that they owned, also China trade. Hold on a minute, where did it go? Did I lose it? Hold on. There it is. This is a China trade painting. And again, it looked familiar. And this was one that was attributed to Lam Qua Studios that was in their collection. And apparently there was a paper label on this one that identified it as a Lam Qua painting. And here's the same gentleman, a very similar thing. It's a little overlit in the photographs, I'm afraid, so you don't really get the color. Because I'd seen the original photographs of this when it was in the Sotheby's catalog, and the colors are much, at the time, looked much stronger to me. But beautifully done portrait. And this one sold for almost three times $7,800. So it'll give you some idea that this might have been an absolutely great buy for someone. Very, very similar. Very, very similar in pose, very similar in style, and very detailed. And the China trade pictures typically have a crispness to them in the way the faces look and the detail of the hairs, minute detail of the hair and so forth. And this three-quarter bust image was very, very popular among the Chinese port painters. All right, and I got a feeling that this one and that one are not kissing cousins, but we're probably from about the same period. All right, and the other thing that sold was this. Was down at Eldred's also. This was sort of a thing I mentioned later. This was maybe the buy of the week down there. This is a really good camphorwood, leather-bound, hand-painted China trade trunk, 15 by 36 by 18. This is a big trunk, and it had been sold originally by Marguerite Riordan, who was a famous show dealer, antique American China trade. Very good paintings. She was known for handling some great paintings. She had an impeccable eye, and she had sold this back 30 years ago or so, or 20 years ago, when she was in the business. And the reason this was such a great steal was its condition. Condition. The paint on this was amazing. Maybe the best outside of, there's one at the Peabody Museum that's very, very good, as I recall, or is it the Forbes Museum? The Forbes or the Peabody. One of them has one of these that's about this good because it's never seen any activity. It just was brought home from China and put somewhere. And this was too. This has the shield form lock on it. It's got its original bail handles on the ends with the stops that keep it from going up. And the paint on it was completely original, untouched. And if this had sold for $2,000 or $3,000, I wouldn't have been the least bit surprised. Somebody got it for $400. I thought the estimate was low. And this is what, when you look at China trade things, always look, compare with other similar examples that you've seen out there. And condition is so important, especially on painted leather and on trunks and carved objects and things. And this one is absolutely pristine. It was, like I said, it was one of the best ones I've ever seen. I think I hope one of you bought it, because these are fantastic. You can make coffee tables out of them, get a glass top, polished off, just sit on the top with little tiny rubber feet, and you've got a great thing for forever. And it won't hurt it at all. So there we go. And the last thing is, this is the one. There it is. There's the one. This is the same. That chicken ground. I saved it. Oh, good. Chicken ground, 1770s, 80s. vase. There's the one with the handles that's coming up at New Orleans, and estimated at 8 to 1,200. Well, this is one that just sold last week. It's 9¼ inches tall. It sold for 3¼ All right, so that other one may be a bargain. So go back and hit it with some bids. All right, there are going to be some good buys until we get through August. So do not hesitate. I mentioned the other day that I got an email from somebody. He went through an auction. He left about 40 bids. I think 50 bids. He got 3 of them for almost nothing. He got such great. He just fished the sale with low bids so that you'd be happy to pay for anything. It's a great way to build out your collection during the summer. You can conserve your money for the winter when prices tend to go up a bit. Just a thought. Just a thought. All right, and that's about it for the week. It's good to be home. It's very hot here today. It's in the 90s and a bit humid, but the house is conditioned, so we're fine. And I'm going to have a good weekend, I hope. And I hope you all have a weekend. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed to it yet here on YouTube, please click the button, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. And if you like the content, come over and join us on Patreon. We've got several hundred people over there, 200 or 300 something subscribers now over there. And there's a lot of content. We publish something over there almost every day. And we done, I think, 2 or 3 videos over there this week so far. So it's fun. It's a good group of people. It really is. It's not a come on to get you to subscribe. It's a nice bunch of people, and it's sort of like the forum on Bitamount. Everybody gets along and have pleasant conversations and talk about things they like. It's a little looser on the Patreon side, though, I will admit. We throw some things in there we threw a video in there today that has absolutely nothing to do with Asian art, but it was hilariously clever, I thought. All right. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. We got a couple of follow-up videos we're going to be doing, and on we go. All right. Bye-bye.